What do we have here? Another Fujifilm video. This time a little different. This is actually one of the lens bags for Fuji X series lens, but it's not a lens inside here. Something different, as you could expect from all the film. This is a Fuji Klasse A, I think it's pronounced, or Klasse S model film camera. It's a point and shoot. It has a 38mm f2.8 lens. It's a Fujinyan EBC or Super EBC coated. Has a tiny little viewfinder and basically autofocus via, I think it's like infrared or something like that through these. See there, the viewfinder right there actually pops out right in that little hole right there. Has a flash. Has a nice little exposure comp dial here, which actually is pretty convenient when you're holding it like this. Index finger, you can adjust it while it's up to your face. Pretty straightforward controls. Basically you have the off, well, the on-off switch is also like the mode dial to some degree. It's off, turns on and goes into program mode, and then goes into aperture priority, and you have 2.8 up to f16. When you're in program mode and you half press your shutter, you'll see, actually let me zoom this in a little bit, you'll see the actual, you'll see the f-stop there. F4, F16, and you'll also see the distance. It's hard to see here, but it's in meters, so maybe if I turn it this way, you can see in the corner over there. It's saying 0.4 meters. I was trying to show you that little M there. Basically, it tells you the focus distance that it believes is what it's going to focus on. In that case, it was flashing because it couldn't find focus. It was basically saying it was less than 0.4 meters, which that's the minimum focus distance. There's an interesting menu here where this is kind of like a multi-function wheel and button. So you press it once. It's the flash mode, so flash, this is flash on, like forced flash, red eye reduction, slow sync with red eye reduction, and then auto, which will obviously fire as it believes it needs it, and then turning off flash. When you want to pick something, you click this little AF lock / OK button, and that will pick that setting. You can alternately keep going through. So here's auto exposure, or AE bracketing rather. So you can basically say how many stops you want. 1.0 or plus, minus, plus 0.5, minus 0.5, and then plus or minus 1, which basically takes one overexposed, one underexposed, and it will take 3 shots. What else do you got here? Autofocus, so manual focus, and then you manually pick the distance. It's kind of bad. I wouldn't use it. This is the bulb mode, self-timer, and ISO. So auto ISO is actually the DX coding, and manually setting the ISO is obvious. You can see the lens here. Seems like it's a decent multi-coated lens. I've only shot a roll through it once so far, and I haven't gotten it back yet from development. Here's the inside. You can see the DX sensors over there. Pretty straightforward design. Pull the film over, just drop it in there, close it, and it's going to try to load it. You can hear it because it's trying, but obviously there's no film, so it just sort of gives up. And it will actually take a shot with no film. You just saw the flash. And then one other couple things, you can set your imprinting of your date on your film. I would never do that. I don't know why someone would, but you have that option. And then you have the force rewind button, which the menu, or sorry, not the menu, but the manual makes clear to not half shoot a roll and press rewind and then pull it out and load it again, because it's not, I guess, accurate enough to get you back to that point. So say you shot 10 shots and rewind it, you can't put the same roll back in, just cover the sensor or the lens in a sense and shoot through the first 10 frames, like with a cap on, if you will. This doesn't actually have a cap, but it doesn't allow you to do that. It's saying to not do that. Some cameras you can actually do that, but what that's for is if you don't want to finish the roll and just need to get it out to develop it. I did notice something interesting, just simply shutting this off, or rewinding it rather, once you run that. So when it runs to the end of the roll, it auto senses that. It tells you how many shots you have left in this box right here as you're shooting, and then when it's done, it auto rewinds. And when it's done rewinding and you open it, it actually has the leader still out. So that's useful for people who do their own development. Makes it a little bit easier. I don't do it myself, but haven't done that for years since I learned black and white photography. So yeah, it's a really neat little camera. It's pretty tiny, as you can see. There's a roll of Provia 100F, and you can see, you know, camera's not much bigger than a piece of film. It's not much taller, and it's not much deeper than a roll of film either. It does come with something interesting. You see this little, reminds me of this Fujifilm. There's this little Class A pouch that has a little belt loop, I guess, or strap loop, and it comes with this kind of neat little lens hood, and you can see the little red dot on here. Not that you really need to align it, because it's pretty obvious with these two pins, but you stick it in these two little holes, turn it and lock it, and now you got yourself a lens hood. Makes it not as convenient to slip in a pocket, but you know, now your lens has a little lens hood. So I've used it outside. I don't know if it's going to make a difference, but it's neat nonetheless. It's kind of interesting, little low profile design. But if you're going to throw it in a pocket, you know, it's nicer to have it separated. And it is just it's a nice plastic. It's like, you know, plastic lens hood you'd see today on like a digital camera, or you know, lenses for like it's the same kind of plastic as the lens hood, like for the Fuji X series lenses that have plastic hoods. Yeah, so I'm pretty impressed with this camera. It was a little bit pricey on eBay. I've just kind of, you know, saying another video, I've been kind of splurged in the last couple weeks. Actually bought this a couple weeks ago and just got around to doing this video, but I've been watching these for a while. I had bid on a few of them in the past and was surprised how high they went, and I kind of have been watching the prices of the sold ones for the last few months, and they just seem to command a good value. I don't know if it's some interest from the X series cameras, and then people want to jump over to Fujifilm. It's supposed to be a really good camera. What's I think part of the reasons it's expensive was because it's relatively new. I posted another video about the FM3A Nikon I bought. You know, that thing was made from 2001, 2006. This thing was similarly made in the 2000s. I forget exactly what year. I had read it, but it escapes me. But, you know, this was built, you know, in the last 10 years or so. So it's not that old, considering a lot of other cameras. You know, people love the Contax, what is it, T2, I think, or T3, T2, both of them. People say they're amazing, but they're old. You know, they're from the 80s, so, you know, they're the potential that they're going to eventually just die. Speaking of that, this camera, the Viewfinder, has some issues. It's supposed to display your shutter speed in a little kind of digital readout, like a typical, like old calculator display, sort of, if you will. But it's backlit. It sort of works, but it's kind of like some of the LCD little for the numbers, like you can't really read them. And then there's a little dot that's supposed to show when you've acquired focus. I found the menu online, or the manual online, and it doesn't really glow at all. But what I've found, and I'm hoping it's accurate, I'm going to find out when I get my roll back, but it seems like when it has an issue with exposure, whatever, you know, it's hard to read the shutter speed, you can get a general sense of if it's like a 500th or like, you know, 1/25th or something like that. But it will flash if it's going to overexpose. If you're, you know, if you're in a aperture priority, obviously if you're program mode, it'll probably be able to figure the exposure out, even in the brightest light, by going to f16. But it will flash, and then similarly, it seems like it will flash when it can't get the proper, it doesn't think it has autofocus, so in theory that light wouldn't be glowing because it's like warning you it didn't get focus. It seems like it also flashes the shutter speed. So, and also I can tell when you go on, it's hard because you have to take away from your face, but if you acquire your focus and then you look, you could pull it away from your eye and then look up at the screen and see. And if it's, this is saying 0.5 meters, if I do this, no, it didn't work. So it's flashing 0.4 because it's saying it's less than the minimum focus distance. So you can also have a double check to make sure it's going to be in focus. I'll find out with the roll I shot through once I get it back from the developer. Oh, one other thing, it has a threaded slot for cable release. So it's a pretty neat little camera, made in Japan obviously. Even the Fujifilm's made in Japan. It uses a single CR2, I believe, battery. I don't want to open it at the time, but I have a few of those from my Bronica RF645 uses a couple of those, and even the, my Fuji SP1 instant camera printer also uses those. So you see these 6 rolls of film. Obviously, you'll notice the green Fujifilm, Velvia 100, Superia Extra 800, Provia 100F, and then another Superia Extra 400, expensive. This is the Pro 400H, kind of like, I feel like it's their version of like a Kodak Portra, if you will, like a high-end portrait film. I'm just assuming that's what it is. I haven't done too much research. And then your Arcos 100 Neopan, black and white. Never shot these two before. Shot, I think, 2 or 3 rolls of this before. Been happy with it. And then I've shot Velvia 100F, the discontinued version of Velvia, on my Bronica RF645. Really like the results of that. Wish it still existed, but I'm pretty sure this will be, close enough for my needs. Just wanted to give this a shot, for 800 ISO. And then Provia. I'm not really sure, what the difference is as far as Fuji's take on which is their best film, but based off at least the highest price of this is more expensive than Provia for both 35mm and 120, medium format. And my plan is, a little project for myself, is to shoot these 6 rolls of Fujifilm through a Fujifilm camera over the next 6 months. So shouldn't be much of a challenge. I can fly through several rolls in a month. I just sort of accumulate them and then send them off to get developed in mass because I don't want to pay too much in shipping, and again, I don't do it myself. But these are nicer films, so I'm gonna take my time. This is actually really affordable. I shouldn't say that. I bought more of this just because I was happy with it, and it's a bargain. I've seen some other cheap 400 ISO Fujifilm on eBay and stuff. It seems like it's not marketed in North America, but they sell it in like India and some other countries, and it's a little bit cheaper than this, and I've thought about buying it just because it's probably good enough. But I'm kind of on a Fujifilm kick, so I looking forward to shooting it. Probably gonna load up this Velvia just because I haven't shot since I shot the last roll. I haven't shot any more transparency, E6 film, so kind of want to get back into that. The colors are really neat, so it'll be neat to shoot that. I just want to be sure this guy's working and the focus is good before I go ahead and do that. If not, I may end up needing to return it to the seller, but I don't think it's going to be a problem. The guys seem pretty legit, and looks like the camera's working properly. It's just the viewfinder's not the greatest, so I'll probably be posting sort of review videos of these films as I make my way through them and give some samples, but I'm pretty excited about it. This should be pretty cool. I've heard a lot of good things about Neopan, and I haven't shot like a good quality a true black and white film, rather, in a while. I shot through a roll that I haven't sent off to be developed yet of the, I forget what it's called, but it's basically a C41 process black and white. I forget what they call those, but I'm going to send that away because it's easier to find developers who do C41. It's kind of like the standard with all these color negative films. But this one I'll need to actually send to somebody who does true black and white. Sort of like I'll have to send my E6 film here to someone who does transparency film. And should be good. I'm pretty excited about this, and sort of just been waiting for an email from the developer with the results of this guy. I shot a roll of 800 ISO lomography color negative. I've shot rolls of it before and was pretty happy with it. It obviously has grain, but it was just kind of a test roll. Did some random stuff. Used the flash a bit because this is kind of interesting to have a built-in flash. I don't shoot much flash with my other film cameras other than when I pull out my light meter and get it all set up properly. So it'd be kind of neat to just have a fun, more auto setting and get some snaps. I took one in a restaurant in Benihana the other week, and while the guy was doing his old volcano onion thing, and that should hopefully become kind of neat photo. So yeah, pretty excited, and we'll post back some more results.